This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneur the Playbook, and I am so excited when I get a real entrepreneur on the playbook. Shaan Patel.
What's going on?
Incredible entrepreneur. You made your name at Shark Tank, but before you got onto Shark Tank and Mark Cuban made his big investment in your first SAT prep course company, which has expanded into 8 #1 bestsellers, a huge business, multi-million-dollar business.
Been very lucky.
Before that, luck is good.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to start there because I love people that tell me they were lucky. How actually, now when we say that, we kind of disturb, I think, the perspective on entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Tell me about that luck. Now, there's a lot of sacrifice that comes with luck. Tell me about how lucky you really are. How did that really happen?
Oh, no way. Yeah, I'm not that lucky. In reality, I mean, I really don't think there's anything such as an overnight success. You know, a lot of people look at my Shark Tank moment as me just like making it. That's like how I made it. But years before I went on Shark Tank, I mean, that's when I was putting in the grind, the effort. As every entrepreneur has that story, it's a common thread, right? Like, I started this SAT and ACT prep company, but before that, I mean, I didn't ever think I was going to be some test prep entrepreneur. What I thought was, I raised my own SAT score from average to perfect, and it changed my life. I got into amazing universities. I got $250,000 in scholarships. I got to meet the president. Everyone's like, "Oh, you met Obama?" I'm like, "No, I met George Bush." I'm not that young. You know? So
You're
like,
not that lucky.
Not that young. Yeah, not that lucky too, right?
Sorry.
And so, I was like, I want to write this book to help other kids change their lives with their test scores. And so I spent hundreds, and now with all the other books, like thousands of hours writing this book. And this was in 2010, like self-publishing wasn't a huge thing. So I pitched it to 100 literary agents and publishers.
You're Jack Canfield, man.
Yeah, right here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right here in New York. And every single one said, you don't have a platform. The SAT prep market is too competitive. They said, one even said, I don't think Shaan's a good writer. That was pretty hurtful, And so I couldn't get the book deal off the ground. So what I did is I took all of that content, packaged it into a course, taught it in my hometown of Las Vegas, and I barely got enough kids to enroll in the first course, but those 18 kids that were in that first course that I taught over 6 weeks, they had an average SAT score improvement of 400 points, which was like incredible. I mean, that's unheard of in the industry, taking a kid from the 50th percentile to the 90th percentile. So I had parents knocking down the door for more courses, and what was really funny about the whole thing is after the courses started, then McGraw-Hill, the world's largest education publisher that had previously rejected my book proposal, said, "Hey, now you've got this course company, you're doing big things." And so they came back, gave me the book deal, we made it happen. And
you're here for my book launch, man. That's happened to me.
I
got my first McGraw-Hill book.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it was crazy. Yeah.
Talk about late adopters, right? That's McGraw-Hill education. Now, here's what people probably don't know, I come from that space, and meaning, my mom, I grew up with nothing like you. You're in the worst school district of all of Las Vegas, which is, I think Vegas is the worst state school district next to Louisiana. So it was pretty low where you grew up education-wise. Your parents owned a hotel or motel, and you pretty much, it's not just the course. Like, you did this on your own, sacrificed everything, stayed focused, empowered yourself. My younger brother went to Harvard, graduated summa cum laude, got a 1580 on his SAT.
Wow.
Protested the question that he missed. He missed one question, obviously. Protested that, lost the protest, took it again, got a 1560, which I always gave him a bunch of crap for.
Went through all that effort. Then.
Yeah. Well, it's my philosophy with grades, too. I was like, dude, it takes half as much time, right, to get all A's and a B than it does to get all A's.
Yes.
Anyone that's a good student knows that. It's that one class that you really need to work at to get that last A.
Yeah.
So I always decided to get the 1B.
Yeah.
Drove my mom crazy.
Well. Yeah, you get
That's why I'm a good entrepreneur. But through all that sacrifice, it took belief.
Yes.
And you just mentioned it with McGraw-Hill, because I had the same experience with my books.
Yeah.
Right. I literally have these great, and they're selling tons now. That nobody wanted.
Exactly.
Right. And in my whole life, I couldn't play football. I couldn't do this. How did you? Because I think it's important for entrepreneurs at a young age, not put faith into what other people were telling you could do.
Oh, you have to. I mean, you talk about the law of attraction and faith, and I'm 100% believer in that before I ever knew what the law of attraction was, Like, I remember walking around high school, and remember, like you said, I was in the worst school district in the nation in Las Vegas, urban public school, 40% dropout rate, walking around high school, and on the top page of my SAT prep notebook, I wrote, I got a perfect score on the SAT before I ever did, And I would remember getting not only excited about it, I would randomly in the shower, I would yell like, I got a perfect score on the SAT, and that was before it ever happened, So I was using the law of attraction back when I was young, and then when I started learning about what it is and what it means to be manifest your thoughts and feelings, etc. And then even with Shark Tank, when I went on Shark Tank, I had it written down on my computer. I can tell you the date, March 2nd, 2015. I went on Shark Tank in June of 2015, and I had it written, by the end of 2017, I will be business partners with Mark Cuban. And that's before I ever auditioned for Shark Tank. I didn't stand in line with the 500 entrepreneurs right here in New York for a 1-minute casting call producer. Before I ever did that, I had already thought and manifested that into my life. So I think it's a huge thing. Like, I started reading Napoleon Hill's The Think and Grow Rich.
Nice.
And,
that's the golden book.
It's so real, and I was going to tell you this. I wanted to tell you this in Hinduism. You talk about faith.
I'm a Hindu.
Yeah, exactly. I love it, and so the God's name is Krishna, and Krishna actually means all attractive. Like, how crazy is that, right? Like, all attractive, the law of attraction. Like, there's something that really is there. It's a powerful force that it works for entrepreneurs, it works for students, it works for everyone.
For everyone. And one of the part that I like to teach about that is, people talk about working hard, which you obviously did, working smart, right, which you already did. But very rarely.
I talk about working hard and smart. Do both.
Yeah, of course. You have to do both.
I hate when people say work smart, not hard. I say just do both.
Yeah, there's a third thing that they don't talk about, and I call John Asseroff wrote about the law of Goya, get off your ass, right? And so that includes working hard, working smart. But one of the parts of continuing, or a continuum from conscious to subconscious to unconscious manifestation or attraction with this hard work is what I call working long. So what I find a lot of entrepreneurs, and I think it's attributable to the SAT, that for some reason we get in our own way and we don't work long, we don't give it a chance, we don't work long enough. And I think putting, I'm going to be Mark Cuban's partner, or I'm going to get a perfect score on the SAT, when you say those things, that's one thing, but it gives you that long vision.
Yes.
That I don't care how long, everyone says, well, they weren't here, I'm an overnight success. Even when you were successful on Shark Tank, that didn't make you an overnight success at that point. You had a couple $100,000 in revenue.
Yeah.
Now you have the pressure of Mark Cuban giving you a couple more $100,000. And I would say there's a point in the business that's the hardest where you are successful, like your dream successful.
Yeah.
And now you got to reinvest every single thing into the company so you can be successful again.
Exactly. All the money, all the effort, all the time, you have to do it over again and become that entrepreneur again, right? And yeah, I totally agree with you on timeline and working long, right? So when I think about goals, I usually give myself a 1 to 5 year timeline. I'm not thinking about 2 to 3 months from now. Sometimes it may happen that fast, but usually you have to think about that long-term game, because a lot of people are like, oh, so if I just think about $1 million, I'll have $1 million in my bank account. Like, no, not at all.
Right.
Like,
I'm going to dream about a Ferrari, right?
Yeah.
If Ferrari's not going to be down. Oh, it is actually.
Oh, it is.
We're at a car club. But no, we dream about it, right?
Yeah.
You got to get off your ass, think and work smart.
And not only think, you have to feel it, right? Like, do you feel like you have $1 million right now?
Exactly.
Or do you feel broke? Like, I don't care how much you think. I actually think Napoleon Hill named the book incorrectly. It shouldn't have been Think and Grow Rich. It should have been Feel and Grow Rich.
That's so. I talk about the 120 rule. Have you heard this?
No.
So I live my life, once I shifted the paradigm of value and truly put faith in the universe that I'm here to be productive, give value, and then be accessible to others and access what I want. But in order to do so, I believe, and I dream every morning, I dream, just like you put your names here, I dream that my room's full of $100 bills, and I'm trading $100 bills for $20 bills all day. But it's not just thinking about giving more value than I'm receiving, and it's not just giving away 80. I actually believe it's a flow, right? So if I can give more value than I receive, I'm in a better flow. Well, I actually want to feel when I'm dreaming about it, I want to feel what it's going to be like to provide more value. So like when I walk into a room, I want people to turn around because I'm bringing it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm bringing energy more than And it's not what I say sometimes, it's how I say it. I can't tell you how many speeches I give about gratitude, and people wait an hour to tell me I changed their life because they're now going to say thank you before they go to bed.
No way.
Because of how I say it. It's resonating with them because of the way we feel.
Gratitude is the attitude. Yep.
Yep. What technique do you do though, right? Because so many people, I think they go through the motions.
Yeah.
They're entrepreneurs and they sacrifice a lot.
Yeah.
But they don't have that subtlety of success where they actually feel and believe.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I think I do is use the power of now, right? Like by Eckhart Tolle, like focusing on the present moment to bring me that happiness, to bring me that gratitude. We're, like you said, we're sitting in a car club and I'm looking around at how amazing it is right now. Because, I think if you think about the past or the future, it just puts you in this crazy difficult place. Like Dale Carnegie, one of my favorite books by Dale Carnegie, it's not How to Win Friends and Influence People, it's How to Stop Worrying. That's my favorite book. And he says the weight of yesterday added to the weight of tomorrow can make the strongest falter today. So like if you think about the past or the future and you're not gratitude about right now that I'm talking to David Meltzer right here on his podcast, like if I'm not grateful for that, like you won't be grateful for anything. If you think happiness is always going to be in the future, you will never achieve happiness or gratitude.
Yeah, it's amazing you say that because if you go back even pre-Kabbalah to Sanskrit, an energy-driven language, one of the 12 tenets in the original Sanskrit is there is no there, there's only here.
Yeah.
Right? There's here and now, and that's exactly what that's been. And I think it's so important because, in your own belief system, we're connected to that which inspires us.
Absolutely.
And our job is to reduce the interference, right? And that's what Carnegie talks about, reducing the interference that slows us down or creates resistance.
It's so important for entrepreneurs because we're always trying to work, and delay that gratification. We're working 80 hours a week. Laurie Grenier says entrepreneurs are the ones willing to work 80 hours a week to avoid working 40. But at the same time, you have to be grateful while you're working that hard. You have to really enjoy that 80 hours of work because that happiness is not going to come later. It's going to come right now when you're working 80 hours and also when you're working on a beach and you can hang out like Dave,
Yeah. Well, and Bobby Knight was one that I love because he was the best coach about, he won all those championships, but it was all about what he did to get there.
Yeah.
And that process and procedure, which is I came up, my definition of happiness, and I'd love your comments on it, is the enjoyment of the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit, pursuit of your potential. Like that there, hours mean nothing. Like I don't even believe in work. So you talk about Dave Meltzer on the beach and making all this money. It's because I only believe in activity I get paid for and activity I don't get paid for. So I want to maximize the amount of activity I get paid for.
Yeah.
But I can't understand why people call it work, right? Take for example, I would still today pay $2 million to play second base for the Padres.
Yeah.
I know they pay their second baseman $2 million, so they would have a net $4 million, and I could also guarantee they'd come in the same place that they came last year, which was last. So they really don't have anything to risk.
Yeah.
But if I was paid $2 million to play second base, if I was that good, I would call it work. Most people would call it work.
Yeah.
No, it's just activity I get paid for.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For me, it'd be activity I have to pay for.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for people to enjoy the activity and then maximize the amount of money that you get paid.
Yeah. Well, I take it one step further, and I tell people, and it's in the book that we wrote with Mark Cuban, and kids love. It's their favorite chapter because it's a book about kid entrepreneurship. It's make money in your sleep, right? Like, I took it from my other book, Self-Made Success, which the principle was never trade time for money. Like passive income, making money in your sleep. Kids get so excited when I tell them you can make money while you're sleeping. Like it's their favorite thing. So like it's the activity that not only that you maximize that you get paid for, but also the activity that you're able to produce value for others, provide that $100 of value for that $20 bill back, right? I think that is the key to entrepreneurship and real wealth in life.
It's interesting you say, activity while we're sleeping or get paid while you're sleeping. One of the things I teach people is to pay attention to sleep.
Yes.
Now, I know even in your books that sleep is a critical component of recovering the brain, of retaining information, of executing upon the test. What have you learned? Because you have written so many books about executing. You do have some advice about rest.
Yes.
And retention, et cetera. What advice do you give? Because people out there, these entrepreneurs, they focus those 16 to 20 hours a day, but it's sometimes more important what you're doing subconsciously and unconsciously. What advice do you give on that side of it?
Absolutely. Like, so before I go to sleep every night, I write in my gratitude journal. I write, exactly. I heard recently Oprah has had a gratitude journal for 40 years. Like, I need to get on that level, It's like
That's my level,
40
man.
40 years?
Well, I have said thank you before I went to bed. Now, religiously,
Yeah.
I've done it over the last 24 years where, like, to make a habit of saying thank you before I go to bed and when I wake up and thinking about what I'm grateful for. Now, I haven't written it down for all of the years, but
Yeah.
I literally created an app,
Yeah.
the Meltzer Gratitude app.
I need to use that app.
That actually reminds you to say thank you,
Yeah.
links into all your other contacts so you can say thank you, and retains your gratitude list.
Yeah, so I think pre-sleep, that's the most important thing to do because you're locking that in your subconscious mind right before you go to sleep.
You're programming yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And then when I wake up in the morning, I mean, for productivity-wise, writing books and things, the most important hours is that first hour that of when you get to your desk, and it's that morning power hour. I mean, you get so much more done. You get the 80-20 principle. A lot of your results, 80% of the results are going to come from that 20% or that 1 hour or 2 hours of time in the morning. I try to take away all the distractions. These little gadgets in our pockets are trying to distract us all day with notifications and trying to take away our time and attention. But that's what I do is I just leave the phone away and I focus on that morning power hour in the morning, and at night I do the gratitude. I think that's the real key is what you're doing right before sleep and when you wake up.
Awesome, man. Well, last question, inside scoop question. I'm always looking to figure out things. I'm a big believer in mentors. Mm-hmm. No matter what age it is, what age I am, I at least have 3 people at all times that sit in the position that I want to be in. Your business partner is one of my friends, have worked around him for years, have spoken with him at several events, etc.
Yeah.
What's the most valuable thing you've learned from Mark Cuban?
Mark Cuban is the best business partner, best shark to get, but sorry, all the other sharks out there. No, but the most valuable lesson that I've learned by working with Mark over the past few years is the power of saying no. Like Mark Cuban, I can email him at any time of the day, text him at any time of the day, different requests, and he's got 1,000 other entrepreneurs emailing, and he says yes to the right things. Like, we'll go do a Shark Tank update together, we'll do an event together, we'll do a negotiation deal to double our licensing revenues together. Like, he'll say yes to the right things, but he'll say no 80% of the time to little things that don't really have an impact on the business. And that's so important because, like I said, again, everyone's trying to take people's time and attention. And when you're Mark Cuban or when you're Dave, people are trying to ask you for things all the time, and you have to know how to say no. I'm way too nice of a guy. I say yes to everything.
Yeah, no, you gotta. When I was your age, actually, I was the same way.
Yeah.
It's really interesting that you say that. I'm going to end on this because I'm always amazed. This just happened with my book launch because I'm sending invitations out to Mark, for example, to Tillman Fertitta, John Paul DiGiorio, right? A lot of big mentors.
Yeah, the luminaries.
Yeah, guys who I've just been, Bob Proctor, Les Brown.
Love it.
We're doing the 13 greatest motivators in the world. Yeah. And I showed the guys because I had my personal list that I send invitations to. I said, isn't it remarkable that the guys who got immediately back to me were the ones that you would think are the most busy people in the world?
Absolutely.
Fertitta, Cuban, Proctor, and I pride myself of getting right back to people in that way. And I think availability, people, these are productive people like you, but they're accessible. And the reason they're accessible is saying yes to the right things. And they're made, one of my billionaire mentors told me, you're made by the people you say no to.
Absolutely.
And what you say no to. So what a great, valuable lesson. I am really looking forward to doing more with you, promoting you however I can. These are great books. Self-Made Success is just one of the 8 bestsellers that he has. Yeah. One of my other favorites is The Kid Startup, which I gave to my son. I like the young entrepreneurs. Love to get you involved in junior achievement as well.
Yes,
we
need to do
a university.
Together,
Absolutely. I'm so proud to have you on the playbook.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
Excellent.
Appreciate it. It's been fun.
Shaan Patel with Dave Meltzer. Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.